They feared him, admired him, depended on him, and slowly they began to wonder whether the kingdom could survive him. This is how many great stories turn, not with the arrival of a foreign army, not with a sudden defeat, but with quiet conversations held behind closed doors. Conversations shaped by fear, ambition, and the dangerous belief that history can be redirected by removing a single man. By the time these thoughts began taking root, Shaka had already transformed southern Africa. The small Zulu clan he inherited had become a disciplined kingdom whose influence extended across the region. His military innovations changed warfare, his leadership reshaped alliances, and his name had become synonymous with both brilliance and power. Yet the closer someone comes to absolute authority, the more isolated they often become. Few dared challenge him openly, fewer still felt safe speaking honestly, and in that silence uncertainty grew. Dingane and Munglana, his half-brothers, lived near the center of this uncertainty. They had watched him rise from unlikely beginnings to near mythic status. They understood the devotion he inspired and the fear he could evoke. They also understood something deeply personal. As long as Shaka remained in full command, their own futures would always exist in his shadow. History does not reveal every private thought, but it does suggest that concern and ambition gradually aligned. They were not confronting an ordinary ruler. They were confronting a man whose will had shaped an entire nation. To move against such a figure required both courage and desperation. Yet power can create the very pressures that make conspiracy imaginable. As Shaka's emotional intensity persisted in the years following Nandi's death, the atmosphere around the court grew more fragile. Loyalty remained strong among many, but fear and uncertainty spread beneath the surface. Some worried about the kingdom's future, others worried about their own safety. In such conditions, even those bound by blood can begin to view one another through the lens of survival. And once survival becomes the central concern, the unthinkable begins to feel possible. One day in 1828, that possibility became reality. The precise details vary across historical accounts, but the central truth is clear. Shaka was attacked by his half-brothers with the assistance of Mubopa, a trusted attendant. There was no massive battlefield, no opposing armies stretching across the horizon. Only a moment of intimate violence carried out by men who knew him personally. The symbolism is impossible to ignore. The boy whose early life was shaped by rejection, the king who conquered rivals and built a kingdom, the strategist who changed history, ultimately faced the same human vulnerability that shadows all powerful leaders: trust. Accounts often describe Shaka receiving fatal wounds and uttering words interpreted as a warning that those who killed him would not truly inherit secure power. Whether recorded exactly or remembered through oral tradition, the message captures an enduring truth. Removing a leader does not erase the forces he set in motion. The man died, but the systems he created, the military structures, the political identity, the sense of Zulu nationalhood endured. His body was hidden in secrecy, reportedly buried in an unmarked grave to prevent his resting place from becoming a focal point. Yet history has repeatedly shown that physical concealment cannot bury influence. News of his death spread through the kingdom with a mixture of shock, relief, grief, and uncertainty. For some, it marked the end of fear. For others, the loss of a leader whose vision had transformed their world.
For all, it opened a new and unpredictable chapter. Dingane assumed leadership, but succession did not mean simple continuation. Every ruler inherits not only institutions, but also the emotional legacy of the predecessor. And Shaka's legacy was immense. Admiration and criticism would follow him together. Some remembered the discipline, innovation, and state building that elevated the Zulu to unprecedented power. Others remembered the severity and the heavy costs borne by communities during rapid transformation. Both perspectives form part of the historical record. Great figures rarely fit comfortably into one-dimensional judgments. They expand what is possible, and they often leave complex consequences behind. To understand Shaka fully is to hold these truths together. He was a military innovator of extraordinary ability. He was a state builder who forged a cohesive and influential kingdom. He was a man shaped profoundly by childhood rejection and by a fierce bond with his mother. He was also a ruler whose intensity could generate fear as well as loyalty. His story resonates because it is not merely about conquest, it is about transformation, about how personal suffering can become the foundation of historical change. The insults directed at a vulnerable child did not disappear. They became fuel. The uncertainty of exile did not destroy him. It sharpened his resilience. The validation he found under Dingiswayo gave structure to latent genius. The authority he gained allowed him to reimagine warfare and governance. And the unresolved emotional forces within him shaped both his achievements and his limits. Even after his death, the Zulu kingdom remained a formidable political force. Future leaders would confront new challenges, including the expanding presence of European settlers and imperial powers. Yet the institutional foundations Shaka established continued to influence those who came after him. His military organization, concepts of discipline, and sense of collective identity left marks far beyond his own reign. Over time, his reputation traveled across continents. Some accounts romanticized him, others demonized him. Modern historians continue examining sources critically, separating legend from evidence, while recognizing the extraordinary scale of his impact. That process of reassessment is itself a testament to his significance. Centuries later, people still ask how a rejected boy became one of Africa's most consequential leaders. The answer lies not in a single battle or decision. It lies in the long relationship between suffering and purpose. Many experience humiliation. Few transform it into disciplined vision. Many gain authority. Few redefine the strategic foundations of an entire state. Many inspire fear. Fewer inspire enduring fascination. Shaka did all three, and that is why his story continues to command attention. There's a lesson here that extends beyond history. The wounds people carry in childhood can shape their destinies in powerful ways. Pain can narrow a life, or it can deepen resolve. Rejection can become bitterness, or it can become a determination to build something undeniable. Yet the same forces that generate greatness must be balanced by trust, perspective, and emotional restraint. Without that balance, strength can become isolation, and isolation can invite the very betrayals one most fears. Shaka's life embodies both the creative and destructive potential of intense ambition. He proved that origins do not determine destiny. The child mocked for his birth altered the political map of southern Africa. He demonstrated that innovation and discipline can elevate a small community into a major power. He also illustrated the human costs that can accompany transformation driven by relentless force. In the end, history remembers him not because he lived without contradiction, but because his contradictions were inseparable from his magnitude. He was shaped by pain, driven by vision, and capable of extraordinary achievement. The laughter that once surrounded his childhood faded long ago. In its place remains a name that still echoes through history. Shaka, the boy they mocked, the warrior they feared, the king who built one of Africa's most formidable kingdoms, and the legend who proved that the people others dismiss can sometimes change the world forever.